First time.
In 2021, to see a legendary creator like Priyadarshan remaking a bootleg version of his own iconic classic film is quite a disappointment. Assuming that a film will have the same impact with audiences after more than 27 years, no matter how iconic it is, comes across as rather far-fetched, no? Priyadarshan is remaking his own Malayalam film Minnaram with Hungama 2, a movie which is a sequel to his successful venture in 2003, which was titled Hungama, which was again a remake of a 1984 Malayalam film directed by Priyadarshan himself. This sequel is another addition to the concept of comedy franchises in India, in which the storylines have no form of continuity and have nothing to do with the previous editions. We have Meezaan, Pranitha, Paresh Rawal and Shilpa Shetty in lead roles trying to emulate the same magic of the 1994 classic. This film marks the return of Priyadarshan to Hindi cinema after the 2013 film Rangrez and of Shilpa Shetty after the 2007 film Apne, barring her musical cameo appearances. The film sweeps its focus from a proclamation that a character is a father of a baby, a confused narrative of an affair of a married woman resulting in a constantly snooping husband, flashbacks to the origin of the love story, a lot of confusion in covering one's tracks, and finally several revelations that provide more insight on who are these wacky characters, what are their intentions and relationships with one another. I wondered whether creators are just delusional or just want to ignore the fact that the Indian audience may have evolved in some way. This perception that a venture 27 years ago could be successful just because it is remade by the same creator, expecting the audience to imbibe the same pitch and quality of jokes like they did in the 90s is rather far-fetched. What boggles my mind is that Hungama 2 is so dated in its writing, and I could point out several features of it and point it towards a particular decade where similar gags were utilized and considered to be funny. What's important to understand is that what was once considered to be funny, a generation later easily becomes hacky. The singular trope of a situational comedy is that it is revolving around confusion, and this leads to mind-numbingly long dialogues which just circle around a particular topic rather than move the story forward. The movie watching experience reminded me of Musaddi Lal from Office and Patel ji causing me a headache as he talks to me about every hypothetical situation with do baatein ho sakti hain. The premise that tries to integrate gags in the midst of all of this confusion just drags along without any punchline, so much so that you actually see the actors get tired of excessively shouting and hamming their way throughout the film. I wondered while having this experience, how is anyone going to have a remotely enjoyable time? Even a person stuck in this time warp of the 90s who is a die-hard Priyadarshan fan will be contemplating why they took the decision of clicking on the film. And then I realized only 30 minutes have passed and I have 2 hours to go. Hungama 2 is written by Anukalp Goswami, Manisha Korde, and the screenplay has been designed by Yunus Sajawal. And what is consistent again about the writing is how it drags a joke as if to increase the watch time on YouTube like TRP and his introductions to his videos. What's crazy is that probably other than the last half an hour of this film, there is an attempt to recreate Minnaram from scene to scene and dialogue to dialogue. The expectation that nothing has to be adapted to assimilate with the current time is actually ignorant of the creator, thinking that the same gags, a lot of which people are already privy to, will land with the audience. The film is riddled with cultural stereotypes, and it just takes you back 10 steps from all the strides we have taken in cinema. I absolutely love Johnny Lever and the beautiful memories he has provided us by simply entertaining us by being his funny self. But he plays a Bengali teacher and just delivers the stereotypical idea of what Bengalis act and sound like. It seemed like an ode to the several caricaturish characters from the Sikh community that Lever had already done in the 90s. Tiku Talsania, after bringing the pregnancy reports from the hospital, frustratingly moves in circles regarding the results, repeatedly stating that the doctor said sab changa hai, going on to do bhangra and stating main kya karta, wo to sardar doctor tha, wo sab changa hai bolte gaya. This was, by the way, your cue to hysterically laugh. Going through this film, I wondered, Anmol, there has to be something that you appreciate, right? And then I started seeking for some light at the end of the dark and horrid tunnel, and actually acknowledged that the locations of this film are absolutely scenic and beautiful. So thode mountains or wadiyon ko dekh lo, aankhon ko thoda sukoon mil jayega. What I actually realized was that the reason for the success of Priyadarshan's Hindi films, which are mostly remakes of his own Malayalam films, was twofold. That one, Neeraj Vora actually identified what would work as gags in the Hindi film market as a writer, and two, there was a thin line between hamming and accommodating to the pitch of the film. Something that was executed very well by actors in his movies, especially of the likes of Akshay Khanna and Akshay Kumar. The beautiful quality of these films was that there was never a sense of irritation that would creep in despite the absurd sequences the film would showcase. There is a very thin line between being overbearing and efficient with jokes that needs to be dealt with sensitivity and care, but it seems like the creators couldn't care less with this adaptation. The translation and adaptation in the Hindi language actually falls completely flat, as the dialogues themselves don't have the texture the film requires, and secondly is assisted by probably the most overacting I have seen in a Hindi film in a long time. The editing of this film seems rather jarring as well. There is no business for an adaptation of Minnaram in 2021 to be 2 hours and 36 minutes long. The film, while dragging along, has these fillers where the characters reminisce about the college romance, or the film, just like an old Bollywood movie, abruptly cuts to the khuli wadiyan to be like, bhai thoda breather le lo. I won't lie that Pehli Baar and Aao Chale Hum from the album are actually enjoyable, but it's safe to say that the other songs were poor recreations of already classics from a musical and visual perspective respectively. There is an attempt to create an ode to the 90s with its music, but Chinta Na Kar comes across as a bootleg version of Gale Lag Ja, made famous by Akshay Kumar and Katrina Kaif, at least from a visual standpoint, and Chura Ke Dil Mera just misses the essence of Akshay Kumar and Shilpa Shetty's magnetic chemistry of the 90s. You know, it's actually true that the creators put all the major gags in the trailer, and if you thought that the trailer was cringy as hell, imagine the rest of the film that you guys have to endure for 2 hours and 36 minutes. It was actually really tough to see the actors who are legends of this industry to convince us that they actually found the dialogues were funny on paper. I would actually assume that a lot of the veterans of the cast said yes to this film for the respect that they have for Priyadarshan as a creator and the consistent work he has offered them for so many years. I don't think I have seen Ashutosh Rana ham his way through a role so much. It was actually sad to see the actor get so frustrated with the situation that he doesn't even finish his dialogues in some cases. His pitch goes on an all-time high, even breaking his voice as if giving up midway. Paresh Rawal is another character that is so over the top and annoying in his delivery that it just comes across as irritating rather than remotely funny. I mean, I was just thinking about the effortless performances by the man in Priyadarshan films like Halchal, Hungama, and especially Garam Masala. All these roles are over the top in their pitch but never came across as irritating. Rajpal Yadav features in an extended cameo and shouts his way throughout his role, so much so that he often becomes breathless mid-dialogue. You literally feel like giving him a glass of water between his dialogues because it just seems exhausting from a performance point of view. Pranitha has a poker face expression through majority of the film, and her presence requires a vulnerability that gets channelized especially as the dramatic second half of the film commences. But there was never a point where you feel emotionally invested in the predicament she is in. It is also quite bewildering on if you're creating a scene-to-scene copy of the original film, why would you so drastically change the climax? It actually takes away from the gravity of the situation at hand, something that audiences felt invested in the original film. I can't really fault Meezaan Jafri for trying. The man has a role that is mostly reactionary to situations and he puts forth an effort, and that effort is clear. Sadly, the performance is not. I mean, if you give an actor who is one film old a role that was immortalized by Mohanlal, come on man, these are some big shoes to fit in. Meezaan tries his best in his physical comedy and showcasing his frustration at the entry of his college fling, but there's so much happening, and by that, I mean too much shouting happening for anyone to stand out as the saving grace of this film. I came to the conclusion after watching this film that some classics like Minnaram, Raju Chacha, Raja Hindustani, Coolie Number 1 are all best left in the era as their memories are too pure to be tarnished now, when a lot has changed with respect to the sensibilities and tonality of cinema. Hungama 2 is honestly a clear example of testing your patience, as if you're sitting through a bad open mic or comedy set, and before the show starts, they alarm you that all the doors of the auditorium are shut, and you can only leave after the show. A sense of claustrophobia creeps in before the first half of the show is over. You want to step out, you want to go for a walk and contemplate your life decisions, but you simply endure the pain. As the show ends, you come to the conclusion that you will never get that time back. Ever. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about the movie. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.